So here we see the turn one evoked grief,
It was a
but
decent keep by the show and tell player, where they're able to protect
mhm,
themselves from this grief and have counterspell for its turn, but they didn't have the
mhm,
turn 1 interaction. But for, like, their main deck interaction that actually, like, can hit the opponent on turn 1, I believe it's nothing. They're not main decking Spell Piercer or
yeah,
anything like that. So this is
this
probably the best
is
possible hand.
this is so devastating into a grief play. Like double grief. Is this a turn one? They can't turn one
Yeah, this
kill,
just might be a
but
turn 1 go. But still, like, putting all that power and toughness into play around the manager, it's critical here. Oh, no, it's just a ghoul.
oh, so if you haven't seen this play before, you evoke the grief. The grief normally with dot sees your opponent and then die, but the evoke is a triggered ability, so, or it puts a trigger on the stack. Um, it's an alternate cost that puts a trigger on the stack, and it'll die as soon as it resolves. With that trigger on the stack, you can cast Sacrifice, put it directly into play. So we can assume that Race Zero that actually had this uh reanimate in play or in hand already, but they couldn't cast it last turn through the Autumn's Veil. And
Yeah.
normally, sacrificing a grief, casting a grief, and a silver smoke goal is gonna get you there.
Yeah, usually.
Uh,
They could have reanimated it last turn just to have another 3/2 beat stick, just put 6 power
mhm.
play, and that often gets there, but then you just lose to your opponent having the show and tell combo in hand. Of course, we watching this know that they don't have the tell combo in
Yeah,
hand, but you wanna wait 1 turn to actually get the discard effect on the grief.
right. I think that if you assume your opponent has, like, if your opponent has a second audit Summer's Veil, you lose. And if your opponent has the mana drain, you're happy to pull it out of their hand and play like, because like you don't beat Summer's Veil, land, show and tell on
Yeah,
stay through time. Like if your opponent has the perfect seven, they have the perfect seven. Oh,
yeah,
but
it's
here
really
is the
interesting.
grief. Grief to take dig through time, leaving three monsters in hand.
Yeah, 3 fatties and nowhere to go with it, but that's probably
Oh
the best
god.
card you can rip.
I
You
don't think
just
there's a
slam this.
better draw in
Yeah,
the deck than
you do
show and
slam
tell
this
right
just
there.
the downsides here, and you get your
So
tracks in play to stabilize.
what we have here is a game because if Aki is holding the Saint Alendra and Show and Tell puts it into play, a Track Sliver is a Saint Alendra. I mean, Trax is still better, but it's a lot closer than you'd think.
Yeah, and Balustrade can just mill a bunch of creeping kills here as well. Like he's dead a couple of ways, but you don't want to just sit here and keep taking the chip damage.
Right.
He has menace, so if you take 6 chip damage plus 3 more menace next turn, that's lethal. So you have to put your life linker into play this turn. Your back is
Yeah,
really
but
against the wall.
Saint Alendra, if it's Saint Alendra, oh,
Yeah.
tragic. Saint Alendra grabs Faith's fetters here, which would have felt amazing.
It's one of those spots in Timeless where you really just have to force check your opponent. You have to make them have it.
Hmm. All right, we see Omniscience, Brainstorm. I do think Mana Drain's correct there, but it's close.
Yeah.
Like
This
the
is
only
tough.
reason not to take a mana drain is I think you assume that Aki is out of things to do.
You still want to take it eventually, and what's cool is that if they work up to like hard casting a Balustrade Spy, you can mana drain that
Mhm.
for mana and then hopefully put a fatty into play like the Hullbreaker Horror or even Omniscience.
Yeah, like Balustrade Spy is lethal at this point because of the creeping chills in the library.
Yeah.
Fortunately, only Grief gets a real attack here.
Yeah, and it's
Oh, you
only
can
lethal
attack with a
this
Silver
turn because
Smoke
of life
Ghoul.
link. Give your opponent 7 life if you attack with it.
Well, you get to sack it before damage.
Oh, is that? Oh, right. It's got the 2 mana sack
I
ability on
know
it. Yeah,
that
my
text
bad.
never comes up because usually you don't ever cast it.
Oh, yeah. And you
A
do want to
lovely
draw a
Silver
card
Smoke
here.
Ghouls.
Like, you got
Hmm.
to draw the card off the Ghoul of Answers. There's a couple of outs in your deck. Like, if you find Dark Ritual Spy for next turn, you totally win. You know, there's a
Yeah.
face-up manager, and so there's got to be like one more piece. Got to like Greek Dark Ritual Spy, something crazy like that.
Yeah. One of the tragedies of Timeless is that there's nothing with Dredge. There's no Stinkweed Imps. There's no Golgari Grave Troll.
So not yet.
Are we getting one?
No, not
Oh, I
yet.
got
For a
sad. I
while.
got
That
so
would be very
excited.
messed up. There's some cool
Like
dredge cards like Life from the Loam that would be dope by themselves.
I would love Life from the Loam. Dredge is one of my favorite mechanics. So the problem here is that known like the mana drain and the Hullbreaker Horror are known. So any 2 mana
Yeah.
spell cast Hullbreaker Horror. What would you bring in here?
All right. So we're gonna be against the. You gotta think about Belcher, think about Spy. What's great is Commandeer. Commandeer is your free silver bullet that can answer their deck. That's what Commandeer is here for. It's for these non-show and tell mirrors. That
Yeah, it
one's
does hit.
great.
It hits. It doesn't hit Balustrade Spy, but it does hit Sorin and Charbelcher.
Yeah, it does. But still, answering most of your opponent's stuff for free is definitely
Yeah.
good enough. It is a literally free spell, and it's hard to come by. Like in game 1, we were talking about, oh, that's their best possible hand, and it
Ooh.
doesn't do a counter spell until turn 2. This actually lets you interact on turn 0, because you're going to be on the draw here.
I think mana drains is brave.
You're on the draw, though. You really can't afford
Yeah.
it. You're not going to be able to mana drain until their turn 3, so you have
Yeah.
to cut anything that's remotely expensive in your deck. Even that Born Upon a
Yeah.
Wind goes.
Like if you can't stop Sorin, if you can't stop, you cut Show and Tell here.
It's tough. I think you do keep all 4 copies of your main combo, but I can understand doing it. I'm not a show and tell player.
I guess it's just a matter. I guess they're just trying to go full control here because like they're planning to have time to hit their Show and Tell.
Yeah, exactly. The objective
Yeah.
is to survive the first 3 turns. If they can do that, they have all the time in the world to actually find Omniscience plus show and tell to win the game. This is a
So
tough one. You got a
close.
mulligan Commandeer. That sucks.
Yeah, like I keep it with 2 blue cards.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
it's just got to go back as it is.
I was
It's
kind of
shitty.
surprised not to see any mono blue Oops All Spells deck, just
Oh
because
yeah,
of
that's
how
a good
good.
deck.
It's a really good deck. Like you get because it's the best deck for Commandeer. It's the best deck for Force of Negation.
Yeah, like we were talking about the
Which are
meta before, like how frog decks went away. That would have been really good level 2 thinking, right? Because like the level 1 thinking is the psychic frog decks went away, therefore we can get away with playing Dark Ritual. But then the level 2 thinking is like, okay, you have to play the stupid Commandeer blue deck that can main deck Commandeer and also be dejected.
Yeah, the decks I was surprised not to see today are the mono white control variants that just attack a mana, the mono blue Belcher variants, and then I actually thought we'd see a burn deck or 2.
Yeah, Mono White Control is cool. It's not necessarily a tournament demolishing deck, but it is like that interesting deck that people like to play for fun. And it can put
I
up some
mean,
surprising results.
like I think Mana Tithe is just really good right now. Like, I think Mana Tithe is great, and I think all of it's got a great energy matchup and it's got a great landless matchup, and it
Yeah.
can. So then, what I like if I had played this tournament, I probably would have been on a mono white, and then I would have had 13 show and tell sideboard slots.
Yeah, that's you know what's really cool about open deck list is you can play like the white curses, like Curse of Silence, because it's open
That's a
deck list.
great
Yeah.
idea.
Someone
We should
demonstrated Boros Energy playing
we should
that
talk
and did
before the
pretty
next
well.
timeless 1K.
Yeah, that Timeless is an awesome format. So many like cool deck building decisions. So we saw like a really weird main phase brainstorm, and that was just to try to like find the desperation commandeer there.
Oh, I didn't catch that, but you're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
But if you're in desperation mode, your opponent top decks a land, you literally lose. So, oh hey, Force Vigor, never mind. Now they can on their opponent's up ahead and blow up the Belcher and destroy some of their mana. So opponent's gonna be down to 1 mana. Show and Tell
Yeah,
player has
taking out.
probably turned the corner here because I think they're gonna have dig through time available next turn to just rebuild a really good hand.
Yeah, I think you need to keep Spell Pierce too, just for in case they're banking a Dark Ritual. Oh, never mind. I don't know why I thought they were going to
They
play
should
land this
have
turn.
went to draw step just in case of that Dark Ritual, like you said. They
Yeah.
let the opponent draw a card. Should have been done an upkeep, but it ended up not being punishing. The Spy player's on 1 mana, they don't have Dark Ritual or fast mana, otherwise they would have used it.
This Thoughtseize is probably game.
Probably game, yeah. Oh wow. So here you would want to take the sacrificed fast mana, because then a Grief just enables like a pretty much instant
Yeah.
win off that Spy.
And like Grief, Dark Ritual are the only live draws left. And now it's just
Yeah.
Dark Ritual.
But now it needs to be Dark Ritual and something else. It needs to be Dark Ritual land or Dark
Yeah.
Ritual Elenda. You're putting them on drawing multiple cards instead of one.
Yeah, I think Aki doesn't know this, but I think we know that this locks it up for BLM.
Yeah. Just too many
Like
counter
just
spells in
because of
hand at
that
this
mana
point.
drain.
And 2 mana Dig coming through here. Dig is very likely to find more action. And a bargain could find a win.
Mhm.
And the opponent's hand is face up, so like there's no fear in casting the card Show and
Yeah.
Tell.
Like BLM played this like had some really good draws, but they also played this very sharp. Like they have an inherent understanding of how the other deck wins here.
Yep.
And also how to stop it. Although it's not like they have any way to win right now. So Aki might just have enough time here. Like they need to go pretty much land, Balustrade Spy, Balustrade Spy.
This is interesting on whether or not you counter this Silver Smoke Ghoul, because it's not a card that kills you quickly, but you as the Show and Tell player do not have a win in hand, and you're pretty far from
Yeah.
settling one. So that 3 power can hit you a couple of times and put a bit of pressure on you. It gets scary. It is the
Right.
discipline play not to counter it, though.
Yeah, I think it's correct. Like this dig through time, the fetch needs to go in the graveyard to cast the dig. And they can whiff the dig. I think whiffing the dig is Aki's best hope right now.
Yep.
I mean, I understand the impulse to mana drain this, but I think you have a Spell Pierce so you can still cast the dig.
Yeah. Spell Pierce is nice, clean, and efficient here, and have cards to cast this time.
I mean, Resolve the Balustrade Spy is still lethal. But that's a big ask. Resolving one Balustrade Spy is a huge ask.
And there is your Omni Show and Tell. Now,
I don't think
you can't Show and Tell the Spy into play. You can't do it.
Show and Tell, you die. So for everyone else, if our Omni player here casts Show and Tell and lets Aki put the Balustrade Spy into play targeting themselves, they will mill 3+ copies of Creeping Chill and burn out the Show and Tell player. Creeping Chill is whenever it's put into a graveyard from your library, you deal 3 damage to each opponent and gain 3 life. And with 4 copies in the deck and the whole deck being milled all at once, that's 12 damage. Even if they got very unlucky and top decked a copy of Creeping Chill.
And what's really unfortunate for the Show and Tell player, what we brought up before, is that they let that Silver Smoke Ghoul resolve, so they're on a 3-turn clock. They actually do need to solve this problem that we just mentioned very quickly.
Wow. I really didn't think they had a shot here, but they have a shot here.
Veil of Summer is interesting. I believe that gives you hexproof from black and will prevent Creeping Chill. Does Creeping Chill target? I'd have to read the card really quick.
Creeping Chill is each opponent. It does not target.
Oh, dang.
So if it did work that way, then our Show and Tell player would be able to cast a bad draw. I don't even know what they can do to assemble the team. They're not running any removal, are they? They took out their Abrupt Decays.
You cut most of the removal. I think they had to trim all of it to fit all the free permission, right? We saw them even cutting the card Show and Tell. There's a Demonic Tutor if you want it. You can get anything out of your deck, but you're out of time.
The Mastermind's Acquisition grabs an Abrupt Decay to hit a Silver Smoke Ghoul, and you respond by drawing a card? Wow.
Yeah, we're at weird levels of Magic. The thing is, the Show and Tell player's mana is a little tough. They have a bunch of basic islands in play. They can't even do a lot.
This is the Simian Spirit Guide coming and just being unstoppable. This is Hill Giant being unbeatable for the combo deck. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? And
like I
Arcus
wouldn't
Bowmasters.
have managed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have managed drained the Silver Smoke Ghoul.
Yeah, it's a decision that ended up being very impactful. And another deck building decision is that a lot of people today are playing like the Orcish Bowmasters WinCon version of Show and Tell, and that would have been a card you would still be playing after the sideboard that could actually deal with this card pretty well.
So with Dig Through Time, I think they have to go for it. I think they have to Show and Tell, putting in the Omniscience, and then try it. Oh, but they sided out Born Upon the Wind.
I believe they did. Yeah, you're right. So
Yeah.
if they
So
had Born, there's a chance. Like the line here
they
is you dig through time, find Born Upon a Wind or Waterlog Teachings, which gets Born Upon a Wind. All your stuff gets flash, and then you can win instant speed. But we
yes.
sideboarded out that instant speed win to have the extra counter spells and things to prevent the turn one win.
Oh my god, I can't. All right, Balustrade Spy on the stack. Here's the dig through time. All spells are free, but if Balustrade Spy's ability resolves, our show and tell player loses. They hit the Waterlog Teachings, which would normally go get Born Upon the Wind and win the game with lethal on the stack, but they sided it out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think they have a way to get into their sideboard at instant speed here.
Oh, not like, yeah.
Oh,
So Born Upon a Wind says 2 mana, you draw it, replaces itself, you draw a card, and then the spells you play until end of turn can be cast as though they had flash. Everything's at instant. So you always see one copy in the 75 for this exact situation. Because Show and Tell does give your opponent a permanent, and it might be a Goblin Charbelcher.
yeah,
So you
a
often
much
have
more
to
common
win.
situation than you think, because like even energy, the main thing they do to answer you is they play Static Prison, or some decks play Witch Enchanter to blow up your show and tell. Like it's very important to be able to just pull the instant speed win out when your opponent targets your Omniscience with removal.
It was such a minor decision, and it seemed so correct at the time.
Yeah, like you kind of have to. Like I said when we were sideboarding, we cut critical cards because like you're choosing whether or not you can beat them on turn 0, and then you're sacrificing some things in the late game. Oh yeah, we sacrificed our instants in here.
Yeah, and this is also, I do want to point out, so Dredgelord's list here, Dredgelord was running Bowmasters, which we saw be really useful all day because it was hitting Ragavans and you respond to Brainstorm, but you can Bowmaster Hullbreaker Horror to win at instant speed.
Yeah, and that's the actual win con of the deck. You don't need to run like Approach of the Second Sun or some other card that takes up sideboard slots if you do.
Yeah. I love that these Veil of Summers don't even draw a card because his opponent has not cast a spell and will not be casting any spells this game.
We're just spinning our wheels here. It's funny.
Yeah.
So I just had a thought. You cannot commandeer a Creeping Shell. It's not a spell that goes on the stack. I don't think there's any way to interact with it.
Trigger.
It's just a trigger. Hullbreaker Horror, you can't bounce the trigger to a hand. Like there's cards that almost work. There's a lot of cards that almost work.
All right, there's the Creeping Shells.
Right,
Yeah, and our opponent is realizing Hexproof does not help. Stunned. I can't believe Aki took that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What a game.
I love playing these silly combo decks that can win with crazy ways, because like in a lot of the Belcher decks, you also play Boggart Trawler, which is just the 3/1 that often turns sideways to win games. I have before cast Boggart Trawler and then equipped it with Glasswing Grace, which is the 5 mana MTFT aura that gives it flying, and won a game with that. It's the most.
We were talking about that earlier. Like, there's actually just so much utility in the green-black lands.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the Belcher mirrors especially often come down to that, because you end up trading resources, trading cards in hand with greed, and then you're just turning your silly cards sideways.
What a game. So we lost our chance, everybody, but if you could do us a favor and clip that last game for us. We passed our window, but you're on a delay. It's perfect for you.
Yeah, this is a sweet keep. So we have Veil of Summer to protect against Grief, and we also have Commandeer to go ahead and take away Belcher style win condition, or even Commandeer fast mana if we believe that they have a Balustrade Spy in hand.
Did we see Belcher last game? We know that Aki brought Belchers in.
Yeah. I was paying attention when the mill animation was going, and I didn't see it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm
really
glad you were.
Sideboard it back out. There's a mind game. Sometimes they only come in for game 2.
I would be just changing for the sake of change. I used to have this argument a lot with my friends. Is it worth giving up a sideboard slot 100% of the time to put a Settler Wreckage in your sideboard? Like, you never side it in, but if it's there in an open deck list, your opponent has to play around it all the time.
I never play around it. I turn my creature sideways and shove every time as the energy player.
So your answer is no, and I can get behind that.
All right, so I think our Balustrade Spy player is telegraphing Reanimate in their hand. They're going to try to Reanimate the Spy here. There's very few reasons to keep this hand otherwise, I think.
I just have such a
could keep
soft
7.
spot for end step discard.
And we had our show and tell player been in Atraxa, which is funny. So if Reanimate goes onto the stack and it gets commandeered, you choose new targets for the copy and reanimate your own Atraxa.
That is clever. Veil of Summer affect your graveyard. Could you counter your opponent's reanimate with a Veil of Summer? Okay.
No, it does
It's
not.
just all right. There's the
This will be
reanimate.
commandeer here. And this is a pretty no-brainer commandeer. He just needs to think, would I rather have the Omniscience in hand or dig through time?
It's
And Digging
interesting.
Time's much better in the I would think.
Yeah, like if you aren't expecting to draw show and tell this turn, I think that's correct. But it's
Yeah, so you're putting Atraxa into play, right? So there's actually a good chance of it. Yeah, so if you're getting the card advantage from Atraxa, it might have been better to keep Omni.
Aki might just have the second reanimate here as well.
Oh, definitely. That would be tough.
Yeah, the danger is hitting counterspell. No counterspell. That's Omni.
What's really funny is after losing 7 life for reanimating Atraxa, we're at 12 HP exactly. Which is 4 Creeping Chills worth of life.
Oh, layers on layers. It's the ritual.
Come on, second Dark Ritual, please. Yeah, and give me a Balustrade Spy for the win.
Yo!
That's hilarious. That's an exact kill right there, and I don't think there's anything the Show and Tell player can do about it. I think they just have to accept their fate.
They put an Atraxa into play on turn 2, and it's just not good enough.
Yeah, that's crazy. They could have not reanimated the Atraxa. They could have reanimated Spy instead, put it at themselves to avoid going to 12. That's a edge that I don't think I would have thought of, though. I don't think I'm playing around double Dark Ritual second Spy. By the way, great play by the Spy player, because their opening hand was clearly really, really strong with multiple Dark Rituals in it, and they decided to go for Reanimate anyway to give themselves like multiple redundant ways to win the game mission. Because you have to assume your opponent is going to mulligan to find like a Commandeer or a Spell Piercer or a Mana Drain, and you have to beat it.